Welcome to Relation Tales. Please like this video and subscribe Relation Tales. We're grateful for each and every one of you. Let us know where in the world you're tuning in from. We'd love to hear from you in the comments. Let's begin. You can tell when love starts fading. It doesn't crash like glass. It seeps out quietly, like air from a slow puncture. That's how it was with Madison and me. On paper, we looked perfect. Married 5 years. A nice house in Seattle. 2 golden retrievers and matching coffee mugs that said his and hers. But real life isn't printed on paper. It's written in the quiet moments. The sighs before bed. The way she'd scroll her phone with a small smile she'd never explain. The way my name stopped sounding like something she loved and started sounding like something she tolerated. I tried to ignore it at first. Told myself she was just stressed. Her marketing job kept her busy, and I didn't want to be the insecure husband asking, "Who were you texting?" But truthfully, I already knew the answer. I just didn't have proof yet. The first crack appeared 2 months before her 32nd birthday. She'd started dressing differently, staying late at work, wearing perfume I hadn't smelled in years. One night, I walked past our bedroom and heard her whispering in her phone, laughing softly. When I asked who it was, she said, "Just a client, Alex. Relax." But the next morning, she left her laptop open on the kitchen counter. Emails popped up like fireworks. One caught my eye. "Can't wait to see you again tonight." Winky face. The sender? Ryan Blake. Her ex. That name hit me like a brick to the chest. I didn't yell. I didn't confront her. I closed the laptop, made her breakfast, and acted like everything was fine. Because sometimes silence is the best camouflage for revenge. Over the next few weeks, I played my part perfectly. Loving husband. Supportive listener. I let her believe I was blind. Every time she said she had late meetings, I'd text her, "Drive safe. Love you." And she'd reply with an emoji heart like it meant something. Then one night, as she brushed her hair before bed, she said it casually, like it wasn't a dagger disguised as a sentence. "Hey babe, Ryan might come to my birthday party next month. We're still friends, so please act normal. Okay." I smiled. "Of course, Maddie. I'll be on my best behavior." She grinned, kissed my cheek, and went back to her reflection, unaware that I was watching a stranger in my wife's skin. That night, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling. My chest burned, not from heartbreak, but from cold determination. I wasn't going to yell. I wasn't going to beg. I was going to let her destroy herself with her own lies. For weeks, I gathered details. Subtle ones. Her phone calls at odd hours. Restaurant receipts from places I'd never been. A hotel reservation under a client's name. Every clue added another thread to the web I was weaving. Then, one night, while she was showering, her phone buzzed. The message preview flashed for half a second. "Ryan, can't stop thinking about last night." That was the final confirmation I needed. I didn't open it. I didn't need to. I took a deep breath and whispered to myself, "Happy birthday, Madison. It's going to be unforgettable." For the next few days, I made preparations. Reached out to a woman named Ava Mitchell, Ryan's current girlfriend. She was calm, sharp, and heartbreakingly kind. She already suspected something, but when I sent her the screenshots, her silence said everything. We decided on one thing: let her expose herself. When Madison's birthday finally arrived, our home was glowing with fairy lights. She wore a red dress that could stop a clock, pretending everything was perfect. Friends filled the living room with laughter and music. I handed her a glass of champagne and smiled. "You look stunning," I said, meaning every word. "Thanks, babe," she replied, scanning the crowd. "He should be here any minute." I knew exactly who she meant. And right on cue, Ryan walked in, slick suit, confident smirk, holding a bouquet. She lit up like a teenager, seeing her first crush again. I stood beside her, hand on her back, smiling like a man too oblivious to be dangerous. But my heart was a quiet drum, because soon, when the cake arrived, so would the truth. The night hummed with laughter and music, the kind of carefully curated joy that hides cracks beneath its shine. Madison floated through the room like she was hosting a royal gala, laughing too loudly, touching Ryan's arm too often, pretending she didn't notice my eyes following her every move. I stood near the kitchen island, pretending to refill drinks, while quietly watching. Every little detail was calculated. The seating, the music, even the timing of the cake delivery. I wanted her to feel safe before the storm hit. Ryan was the same smug charmer I remembered from the photos she used to keep for memories. He had that grin, the kind that dared the world to hate him. But what fascinated me most wasn't him. It was her. The way she leaned close to him when she thought I wasn't looking. The way her voice softened into that old tone of admiration she'd stopped using with me months ago. I watched her, and I realized something painful yet freeing. She didn't love me anymore. Maybe she hadn't for a while, but that didn't mean she'd get to humiliate me. About an hour in, I felt my phone vibrate. It was a message from Ava, Ryan's girlfriend. "Here, outside. Should I come in now?" I looked toward the door and exhaled slowly. "Showtime." I texted back. "Wait until the cake." The plan wasn't about chaos. It was about truth. Madison thought she could control the narrative, keep everyone fooled while sneaking behind my back. She didn't realize the stage she built for herself would become her undoing. "Babe," she called across the room, waving her glass. "Come here, take a picture with me and Ryan." My lips twitched into a polite smile. Of course. I stood beside them as someone snapped the photo. Her hand rested on Ryan's arm, just a little too long. He didn't move it away. The flash went off, and I caught the faint reflection of guilt flickering in her eyes. Or maybe it was fear. She knew I noticed. The evening moved on. The guests were laughing. The playlist switched to old romantic classics, and Madison danced under the warm lights. She kept sneaking glances at Ryan, and I pretended not to see, because revenge works best when it looks like indifference. When the lights dimmed and everyone began to sing happy birthday, the air changed. The cake rolled out, candles flickering like tiny flames of truth. Madison stood in the center of the room, glowing in her red dress, smiling like the queen of her own kingdom. And then the doorbell rang. It wasn't part of the plan to draw attention, but fate sometimes enjoys a dramatic entrance. I nodded toward the door, and one of our friends opened it. Ava stepped in, calm and composed, her beauty understated but commanding. She wore a navy blue dress, her blonde hair tied neatly, her expression unreadable. The room went silent. Madison's smile faltered. Ryan froze. "Oh," Ava said with a soft, almost kind smile. "Sorry, I hope I'm not late. I heard it's someone's birthday." You could feel the tension shift, like the entire house was holding its breath. Madison blinked fast, pretending not to know who she was. Do I know you?" Ava tilted her head. "Not personally, but I know your husband. And your ex." A soft gasp rippled through the crowd. Madison's cheeks turned pale. "Excuse me." Ryan took a step forward, eyes wide. "Ava, what are you doing?" She smiled thinly, telling the truth. Then she turned to me. "Thanks for the invite, Alex." I nodded once. "Glad you could make it." Madison looked between us, her eyes darting. "Alex, what's going on?" I kept my tone calm. "Just thought it would be nice if everyone got to meet each other. You said you wanted a memorable night, didn't you?" Her lip trembled. "This isn't funny." Ava stepped closer, holding up her phone. "Funny? Maybe not. But interesting, definitely." She tapped the screen, and the sound of recorded laughter filled the air. Madison's laughter. Ryan's voice. Conversations that were never meant to be public. "You two should really remember to end your late-night calls before 2 a.m. Walls have ears, and sometimes they record." The entire room froze. Madison's eyes filled with panic. "You're lying. That's not." "Stop," Ryan muttered, voice cracking. "It's real." For the first time, Madison looked at me with tears welling up. "Alex, please, let me explain." I shook my head slowly. "You already did, Maddie. Over and over. Every time you whispered to him when you thought I was asleep." Her face fell apart in front of everyone. Guests began exchanging glances, some slipping out quietly. The music had died long ago, replaced by the heavy pulse of silence. Ava turned to me, eyes soft. "I'm sorry you had to find out this way." I gave her a faint smile. "No, Ava. I already knew. Tonight wasn't about finding out. It was about ending it." I looked at Madison one last time. "Happy birthday." She stood trembling as I walked past her. The candles still burned behind her, flickering over the untouched cake. I didn't blow them out. I didn't need to. That was her job now, if she could find the strength. As I stepped outside, the cool night air hit my face. For the first time in months, I felt free. Behind me, I heard the muffled sound of a sob. Maybe regret. Maybe just the collapse of a lie. Either way, the night had finally given me peace. The morning after her birthday, silence filled the house like thick smoke. The glitter, the half-empty glasses, the abandoned cake. All of it looked like evidence from a crime scene where love had been the victim. I didn't sleep that night. I packed a small bag, grabbed my car keys, and drove to a nearby hotel. I sat on the balcony till sunrise, letting the cold wind wash the poison out of me. Revenge had felt satisfying for a few minutes, but beneath it, there was something heavier: grief. Madison had texted me 27 times. I didn't open any of them. But when her final message came through at 5:14 a.m., I read it. Please come home. I can explain everything. I made a mistake, Alex. Please. A mistake. That word echoed in my mind. Like the past months were just an accidental slip, like our vows were something you could trip over and stand back up from. By noon, I decided to go home, not to reconcile, but to face the ruins properly. When I walked through the front door, Madison was sitting on the couch in her red dress from the night before, her makeup smudged, eyes hollow. The smell of stale champagne still lingered in the air. She stood up fast. Alex, thank God. I didn't think you'd come back. I kept my distance. I came to get the rest of my things. Her face crumpled. Please don't do this. I can explain. It wasn't what it looked like. Then tell me, I said calmly. What was it? Tears streamed down her cheeks. It started months ago. I ran into Ryan at a conference. We just talked, reminisced. I was lonely, Alex. You were always working late, barely home. I felt invisible. Invisible. The irony almost made me laugh. And you thought sneaking around would make you feel seen? She shook her head, crying harder. It wasn't about him. It was about me. I was lost. He made me feel young again, excited. I didn't think it would go that far. I crossed my arms. But it did. Her silence confirmed it. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The only sound was the clock ticking on the wall, a cruel reminder of all the time we'd wasted pretending everything was fine. Finally, I sighed. You know what hurts the most, Maddie? It's not that you cheated. It's that you looked me in the eyes every day and let me believe you hadn't. She dropped to her knees, clutching my hand. Please don't leave. We can fix this. I'll quit my job. I'll go to therapy. I'll do anything. Alex, please. I looked down at her. The woman I once adored looked so small, so fragile. But I couldn't unsee what I'd seen. I couldn't unhear her laughter with him, or erase the image of her clutching his arm while pretending I didn't exist. There's nothing left to fix, I said quietly. I didn't destroy this marriage, Maddie. You did. I just finally stopped pretending. She let go of my hand, trembling. You're leaving me for good? Yes, I said simply. And I'm not doing it out of anger. I'm doing it for peace. I picked up my bag and turned toward the door. But before I left, I paused. One day, you'll realize what real love looked like, because it's walking away right now. Her sobs followed me out the door. Over the next few weeks, life was strangely quiet. I rented a small apartment downtown, started running every morning, and spent my evenings at a small diner owned by an older couple who never asked questions. People assume revenge heals you. It doesn't. It just gives closure a louder entrance. The real healing comes later, when the noise fades and you start rebuilding yourself piece by piece. I threw myself into work again, architecture. The same blueprints that once felt like burdens started feeling like purpose again. Building structures that stood strong despite cracks felt poetic. Maybe that's what I wanted for myself, to rebuild from the ruins. About a month later, I got a message from Ava. Hey, just wanted to say thanks again for what you did. I needed that truth too. Hope you're doing okay. I smiled at the screen. Ava had handled that night with grace most people wouldn't have had. She didn't raise her voice, didn't humiliate anyone. She simply let the truth speak for itself. We met for coffee a few days later, just to talk. There was no spark of romance, at least not then. Just two people sharing quiet empathy. She asked me, do you regret it? The way you exposed them? I thought for a moment. No, I said honestly, because she taught me that love without honesty isn't love, it's performance. And I'm done performing. Ava nodded slowly. Maybe one day you'll find someone who values the truth as much as you do. I smiled faintly. Maybe. That night, as I walked home, I passed by a bakery window. Inside, a woman was laughing as she blew out candles on a cake, surrounded by friends. It made me think of Madison again, her party, her smile, her lies. But instead of anger, I felt nothing, just quiet acceptance. Because sometimes, revenge isn't the loud explosion everyone expects. Sometimes, it's just walking away without giving them another chance to break you. And that was exactly what I did. 6 months later, I barely recognized my own life. The mornings were quiet now, just the sound of the coffee machine and sunlight pouring through my apartment window. No tension, no lies, just peace. I had lost a marriage but gained something far more valuable: clarity. Work was going well. My firm had just landed a big renovation contract, and for the first time in years, I felt like I was building something that wouldn't collapse under secrets. Even my friends noticed a change in me. "You look lighter," they said. And they were right. I was finally free of the weight of pretending. One afternoon, as I was leaving the office, I saw a familiar face waiting outside. Madison. She looked different. Not the polished woman in designer heels I once knew. Her hair was tied back messily, and her eyes carried the kind of sadness that no amount of makeup could hide. She hesitated before stepping closer. "Hey," she said softly. "Hey," I replied. "I wasn't sure if you'd talk to me." "I just did." Her lips quivered, and for a moment, she looked like she might break again. "I wanted to say I'm sorry, Alex. For everything. I've had a lot of time to think, and I know I destroyed something good. I don't expect forgiveness. I just needed to tell you that." I nodded slowly. "I know you did." She blinked, surprised at my calmness. "That's it. You're not angry anymore." I shook my head. I was. But anger's like holding on to a burning match. It only hurts you. I dropped a long time ago. Tears welled in her eyes. "Are you happy now?" I looked past her, at the street bathed in soft afternoon light. "Happier than I've been in years." Madison swallowed hard. "Ava told me she saw you last month. She said you're doing great." I gave a small smile. "Yeah, she's a good person. We're friends." Madison nodded, trying to keep her composure. "I'm glad someone like her found you. I didn't deserve you." I didn't reply. Sometimes silence says more than any words can. She took a shaky breath and said, "If you ever need to talk, I won't." I interrupted gently. "But I hope you find peace too, Madison. Not in someone else, not in attention, but in yourself." For the first time, she didn't argue. She just nodded, wiped her tears, and whispered, "Goodbye, Alex." "Goodbye." She walked away slowly, disappearing into the crowd, and I realized that closure doesn't always come with dramatic endings. Sometimes it's just two broken people finally accepting that their story has reached its last page. That night, I sat on my balcony again, watching the city lights flicker like distant memories. Ava texted me, "Hope your day was good." I replied, "It was peaceful. That's good enough for me." She sent back a smile emoji. And for the first time, I smiled without feeling like I was pretending. Maybe we'd cross paths again. Maybe we wouldn't. But either way, I was done chasing the ghosts of what-ifs. The thing about betrayal is, it breaks you in ways you can't predict. But if you're patient enough to rebuild, you come back stronger, quieter, and far wiser. Madison lost her chance to see that version of me. And that was her real punishment, watching me become everything she said I'd never be without her. As I finished my coffee and leaned back in my chair, I thought about how strange life can be. Sometimes, the most powerful revenge isn't proving someone wrong. It's simply moving on so gracefully that they can't believe you were ever broken. And that was exactly what I did.